Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well and staying safe during this time. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. Like I said, thank you so much for checking me out. If you haven't done so, please make sure to hit that subscribe button just right below the video. Cool, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And if you're returning, welcome back. Thanks again for your support. I truly do appreciate having you here.
I never ended up mentioning this yesterday. The news kind of got away from me. We had the whole Russia-Ukraine situation that was just kind of developing. And so I focused more of yesterday's video on that. But I wanted to mention this, guys, for XRP hodlers. And I know probably a lot of you guys already know this by now. DJ Peter Vass bringing this to our attention. The Judge Torres, basically denied the SEC in one word. Another positive win for the Ripple lawsuit as the SEC's motion denied in a one-word order. So the details down here. In recent updates shared by defense lawyer James K. Filan for the XRP community, another positive win comes for Ripple in the ongoing lawsuit as a one-word order. District Judge Torres has denied the SEC's motion to file a sir reply, the sir reply that we discussed in a former video I did a few days ago in support of its motion to strike Ripple's fair notice defense. So this is very, very good news. John Deaton also just responding to this. The SEC asked to file a sir reply to cite a fellow district court judge's ruling from a different circuit, striking an entirely different defense, while not striking the substantially similar defense that's in question. The SEC should apologize to her for having to type denied. Essentially stating that, even just typing those 6 letters was asking too much from her and that they should apologize because of how ridiculous their sir reply motion was. However, Ripple's lawyers argued that the SEC should not be allowed to bolster its case against the company's pivotal fair notice defense by filing the gap with out-of-circuit cases. So that was another point that I had mentioned in that video when they brought up that library crypto case study precedent, which I'll link that video up here if you guys didn't catch it. Ripple also mentioned that the SEC did not even ask to strike the defense in the library case, claiming that such an omission is remarkable. Library, a blockchain-based file sharing and payment network company, is currently facing a lawsuit as well for conducting an unregistered offering of digital asset securities known as library credits worth more than $11 million to a number of investors, including U.S.-based investors. So that was the news from yesterday, and sorry if I was a little late on the uptake. Just wanted to bring you guys that anyway, and wanted to thank DJ Peter Vass for posting that. Also, guys, more XRP on the move, and I think we are going to start seeing more and more XRP on the move in the coming months because of what is happening between Russia and the Ukraine. I did a video just this morning about sanctions, the SWIFT system, and a journalist, Ben Swan, discussing back in 2019 that he thought that the BRICS countries, he was pretty confident that the BRICS countries were already deciding to come up with a solution to circumvent the SWIFT system. And he didn't name it by name, but what he was describing in that video sounded exactly like the RippleNet protocol utilizing XRP as ODL for liquidity to transfer one currency, one fiat currency to another fiat currency. And, for those watching at that time probably didn't have a clue what Ripple and XRP were. I'm sure it was pretty confusing to them. Now fast forward to today and it all makes sense. And if you guys didn't catch that video from this morning, I will link it up here in the top right hand corner. So I think we will see more XRP moving more frequently, and this is just another example of this, brought to us by Michael at Val5Links. Another large batch of XRP has been moved by anonymous BitThumb users to an unknown wallet, according to the Whale Alert transaction tracking service. As the website suggests, almost $80 million worth of coins were moved 9 hours ago. The wallet that received such a large sum from the exchange currently holds 85 million XRP and constantly makes large transactions to other entities on the network. Most recently, the wallet has transferred 35 million XRP coins to 2 anonymous wallets. And you guys can see down here the whale alert tracking tweet. Before receiving 120 million from the exchange, the wallet ending in this code here received 90 coins on February 18th and distributed funds among smaller wallets later on. So, more XRP transactions from a BitThumb source, anonymous BitThumb users, to an unknown wallet. These could be wallets for exchanges. These could be wallets utilizing XRP as ODL in different regions around the world, considering SWIFT is likely going to be in the spotlight over the coming weeks and months. Because we're going to be hearing about more sanctions perhaps placed on Russia by the United States. And I think I did really cover it well in this morning's video. So I do urge you guys to watch that if you still have not seen that. Meanwhile, so here's more, guys, just in the United States right now. Another one from Michael. And he's saying facetiously, but we're looking out for the little guy. The SEC is considering raising the threshold for who can be considered a so-called accredited investor. The proposed limit at $10 million would make it even harder for ordinary people to invest in startups. Go figure, the SEC raising the bar so that us little people have a harder time investing in potential opportunities. The SEC plans to 10x the definition of accredited investor. In an effort to enhance investor protection and disclosure, the US SEC is planning to raise the limit for who is eligible to become a so-called accredited investor, or who is allowed to invest in unregistered shares and offerings in startups. According to Bloomberg Law, this is not the first time the SEC is considering changing the rules, but in the past it's been about modest tweaks. This time it is different. This speaks volumes to me. This actually just kind of almost shows their hand a little bit more. The fact that they really want to tamp down wealth building, the opportunity for building wealth for the common person, sounds kind of un-American, doesn't it? It also sounds in line with, this whole new emerging economy and taking away wealth, basically dividing class structures even further apart, obliterating the middle class, making the class distinctions now of poor people and rich people, along the lines of what the Great Reset essentially wants to do in secret. And so maybe this is just another attempt at doing this. The agency is expected to pick it up again in April with a request for public comment on changing the definition of accredited investors to at least $10 million as per the agency's fall 2021 regulatory agenda. And so here are the stipulations. As for today, people who like to qualify as accredited investors must have at least $200,000 in personal income or $300,000 for combined household incomes over the past 2 years, with the expectation of the same or higher income in the current year. People with a net worth of more than $1 million jointly or with their spouse, excluding the value of their home, also qualify. Also in 2020, the agency added qualifications which include people working in finance, such as brokers, executives, or directors of companies issuing unregistered securities. So these are all some of the stipulations. Now, I mean, what does this say? This really does give people who earn a lot of money or who have over $1 million in net worth a huge leg up to become even richer. But what about retail money? What happens to people who might have a few $1,000s that they want to invest in cryptocurrency and, in hopes to make maybe $100,000 or $200,000 or maybe $1 million? I mean, this really does kind of squash that class of investor. So I don't know what their real plans are here. I know they're making it sound like it is for investor protection to get people so that they aren't in over their heads. Do you believe it? I certainly do not. Put it down in the comment section. I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say about that. And just switching gears a little bit here, because I saw this from T-Hole Bedict XRP on Twitter. Finally, Rabobank explains real and extremely obviously, sorry to be snobby, he writes, the reason why the SEC, why the United States is actually after Ripple, announcing a lawsuit on Ripple and XRP, and why this whole SEC versus Ripple debacle is happening in the first place. Luckily, we're hopefully near the end of this. Hopefully, we will get a verdict soon. But T-Hole Benedict actually just uncovered some interesting information here from Rabobank specifically. Now, for those of you guys who do not know, I'm just going to give you guys a quick synopsis on who these guys are. They're a financial services company. Rabobank is a Dutch multinational banking and financial services company headquartered in Utrecht, Netherlands. The group comprises of 89 local Dutch Rabobanks, a central organization, and many specialized international offices and subsidiaries. So they're a financial services company that has done this research independently. Here's the document. It was just from a few days ago, February 22nd, 2022. CBDC and the international position of the euro. And so T-Hole Benedict links that article in the tweet thread here, and I will also link this in the description if you guys wish to read the full thing. The thing that T-Hole Benedict explains, though, is quite interesting. This has nothing to do with Bitcoin or Ethereum, all that nonsense. He says that's just an echo chamber. This image, though, has the conclusion, but should be on the last page. And so I'm going to read you guys this stuff first, and then we're going to talk about that conclusion page. So he's highlighting some of the important points here. CBDCs also have a geopolitical dimension. So as we know, the European Union has indicated that it aims to achieve what is known as strategic autonomy. This broad term suggests that it is primarily about a high degree of economic, political, and military independence. But a well-developed, globally used currency can also contribute to the political independence of the EU. However, this requires that this currency has also its own independent international payment infrastructure. Otherwise, the political influence of a country is strongly undermined, as I will explain further on. Also just talks a little bit about China. China also steps up the pressure on the euro. So just talking about China and their initiative. This too should be seen in a geopolitical perspective, although it may not be apparent at first glance. After all, the stagnant development of the euro as an international currency, as outlined above, was not primarily caused by its absence of a digital euro, nor its arrival will simply fix it, but the international position of the euro does risk being under pressure by the arrival of the DCEP, a digital version of the Chinese renminbi. So they're discussing this issue of China creating their CBDC, their digital currency, and how BRICS countries, for example, and I talked about that in this morning's video again, the BRICS countries coming together, creating their own system. And BRICS, for those of you guys who do not know, that is BRICS. Brazil, India, Russia, China, and South Africa, creating their own system so that they do not have to depend on the US dollar. China's obviously a leading player in this, so he discusses that there. Also, by converting the money into Bitcoin, sending it via the blockchain to their families, who then convert it back to dollars, they expect to save about $200 million in annual costs. At least that is what the expectation is. Incidentally, via a CBDC-based circuit, in this case a digital dollar to be issued by the Salvadorian Central Bank, between central banks this could be done just as well and quickly, but without the price risk between Bitcoin and the dollar. So he's kind of jumping back and forth here, talking about a few different points that I think are really important with regards to why the U.S. is going after Ripple. There are so many moving pieces to this around the world. You know, we've got El Salvador moving to Bitcoin, and many other Latin American countries are looking to do the same thing. Finally, though, we have this. And so here's the unique position of the dollar and how it contributes to U.S. power. The dominance of the U.S. dollar gives the United States considerable political power. This became apparent, for example, in 2018 when the US government imposed sanctions against Iran because of its nuclear program. The EU did not agree, but could only watch as European business nevertheless informed to US policy. It did this to avoid being hit by sanctions itself. This example illustrates that when all is said and done, the strategic autonomy of the EMU is still a long way off. The US recently threatened, in response to the Ukraine crisis, to have Russia excluded from participation in the international payment system SWIFT. The US has good visibility into the behavior of foreign companies because virtually all transactional payments are processed through SWIFT. So, they mention here the US actually has a leg up. They have the visibility. They see where money is flowing. And when in doubt, follow the money. This is what we've been doing for years now, looking at, for example, who's investing in RippleNet, how XRP is going to be scaled out, who is interested in this, who is paying for these services, what companies are merging with other companies because of RippleNet services, so on and so forth. So being able to follow the money, a very good tool to remember in order to understand how this is moving. Continuing on. Now, the EU and the US agree in many respects on international politics, but that is not necessarily always the case. Furthermore, it could be extremely unfavorable for the EU if the Chinese renminbi took over the international role from the dollar. And so, guys, this down here is where the SEC comes in. This is what the SEC is doing. Western governments could, of course, try to prohibit Western banks from participating in SPFS and CBI BPS. And if you guys don't know what those are, that is essentially Russia's own financial messaging system. Since 2014, Russia has its own financial messaging system for Russia and foreign banks. It has developed an alternative messaging system called SPFS, or Financial Messaging System of the Bank of Russia, which handles about a fifth of domestic payments, but it only has 400 users, and that's brand new information updated only 7 hours ago, actually. And so what is CBI BPS? Well, that is just another acronym here. If I scroll down here, in fact, there are plans to integrate the Russian SPFS network with the Chinese-based cross-border interbank payment system, which is the CBI BPS. So that is the Chinese version of the SPFS. So I'm sorry, that does not have to do with Russia. That is the Chinese version of their cross-border transactional system. And so back to this point, Western governments, of course, could try to prohibit Western banks from participating in these cross-border systems, although it is an open question whether this could be done watertight. So that's the other problem. Russia, China, such influential partners for trade worldwide in Western economies and non-Western economies, they're just big trading partners. So how can you actually tell other countries, non-US countries, and tell them, no, don't do business with them, they're under our sanctions? Yeah, but we rely on them for energy or cheap goods or whatever. We're not going to listen to you because our economy still needs to keep plugging along. So this is the problem. Western governments could, of course, try to prohibit Western banks from participating, although it is an open question of whether it can be done watertight. This might complicate the development of these alternatives to SWIFT, but in all likelihood would not stop it. So the SEC, by preventing Ripple from really kind of thriving right now in the United States, this at least puts a plug in the US economy and other Western economies that are kind of following suit, putting a halt on it. I do not think they will block them forever, though. Of course, we know the SEC lawsuit is finally coming to a close. But, it could have been delay tactics from the beginning. The SEC could have just been delaying until, well, they can't delay no more. I think, though, ultimately, at the end of the day, RippleNet is going to permeate the entire cross-border banking sector. It is going to be the gold standard. I mean, in so many respects, it already is.
I'm your guy. I will keep you posted. I'm your advocate. I'll be back on a daily basis, usually multiple times per day, with these videos to keep you updated with everything going on. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't done so, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Feel free to share any of my videos with your friends, family, social media, or anybody who may care to listen. Thanks so much for your continued support. I'm always here for you. I want to help you through this time. So thank you so much for continuing to choose me. Enjoy your day, stay safe, and I'll catch you again probably in a couple hours. Thanks, everybody. See you later.